So we're looking at Part 2 assessment, and now we're looking at Task 2. And Task 2 is all about building your relationship with your Pacific or with your Maori client. Now, if you are in traditionally a Maori provider, you would have a Maori client. If you're traditionally in a Pacific provider, you'd have a Pacific client. And then for your next case, it's a case study, and you would have the opposite. You would, if you're dealing with a real Maori client, you would have the case study Pacific client. If you're dealing with a real Pacific client, you'd have the case study Maori client. So for Task 2, this is dealing with your real Maori or Pacific client. The way the questions unfold is absolutely identical to the information that was provided for the pregnant client. You have to go through and answer all those questions for this particular client. When you're interacting with your Maori or Pacific client, you have to go through and include all the forms about referring and assessing, and writing a few questions about matching the assessment process. So if you need some reminder tips, just go back and listen to Part 2 assessment, Task 1. The requirements are exactly the same, but this time, instead of dealing with a pregnant client, you're dealing with your Maori or Pacific client. So review each thing and be sure that you've put the details in that are asked for. And the boxes will expand as you fill in your answers. So that's the information that you need for Task 2 in Part 2 assessment.